Hey brothers and sisters, Kameron here. I receive a lot of messages on Instagram, and I seem at certain points I get messages over and over of asking the same thing. So this one kept coming up, and it came up again on should I date a Jehovah's Witness. I feel like I can answer this and give some perspective because I was disfellowshipped and falling in love with a worldly girl or a non-believer. So I give some perspective on it. So let's get into this because a lot of people who have no idea or any history or know anything about Jehovah's Witnesses, there's some things to consider before getting involved with someone who is a practicing or borderline or very hardcore believing Jehovah's Witness. We want to talk about a handful of things: self-esteem, confidence, ambitions, is healthy, open-minded, and self-awareness. Also, I have an Instagram page where all these messages come through, so if you have a question, you should send me a message because I get a ton of DMs. It takes me a while to respond because a lot of them go through, and they're usually like the size of the book of Job because people are telling you their life experiences, which is great, but if you ask something that gets asked a lot or in a comment on the YouTube channel, I might just make a video about it because that's kind of cool, and then I can just send this video off and be like, yo, I've answered this already. My Instagram is @Kameron Fader. I'll leave a link in the book description, in the doobly-doo. And if this vlog helps you or any of my previous vlogs have helped you at all, help me replace my camera gear. I think I'm in a position to ask. I have a GoFundMe link down below. If any of my vlogs have helped you, I think, and if you can, if you're not in the cult, because I'd rather your safety and put money towards getting out, go to that first. That would be super appreciative of the link in the below. Okay, first thing we're gonna talk about is, I'm looking at my notes here, things to consider is, does this person I'm interested in have high self-esteem or confidence? You can tell if they do because they don't put themselves down constantly or ask themselves about their dreams outside of being a Jehovah's Witness, Mormon, or Scientologist, whatever it is. If they don't believe they can actually follow their dreams, as in like maybe they have a passion. So being into music or a YouTuber, vlogging, photography, design, math, scientists, insert hobby here, that's a bad sign because I used to be like that. Yeah, I had dreams on the inside that I wanted to pursue, but I wasn't allowed to pursue them or speak about them vocally when talking about the Bible or the Jehovah's Witness religion because everything had to be for God. Everything had to be, your own hopes and dreams as Jehovah's Witness are stuffed down to give it to this religion, this cult. It's a bad sign. That's abusive to tell someone that they can't chase their dreams unless it's for God. Other signs of self-esteem is ambitions, what we just talked about, humble when hearing other people's different opinions, and doesn't let the opinions of others affect their self-esteem. This is a huge one. Jehovah's Witnesses are raised in a hierarchical kind of society, so they're always, aiming for, are you pioneering? Are you a ministerial cert? Are you going to Bethel? Are you going to be a Bethelite? Are you, always giving more and more? Give more, give more. XJW, critical thinker, him and his wife just did a video like a couple weeks ago on giving more. Like, the society is now asking people to give up their frequent flyer miles to donate to the society. That says a lot about them. They used to never do that when I was growing up. Now they're hurting because of all these lawsuits. But when you're going that far to make people give up their vacation time and putting that amount of pressure on them, that's just not healthy. But doesn't let other people's opinions affect their self-esteem is a huge one because this is something that I struggled with, and a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses and religion in general attracts a lot of people with very low self-esteem and seeking the approval of other people's opinions, especially on social media. Like, you're very careful about what you post because you're afraid of how it might make you look. You're afraid of what other people will say, and you might delete a post. I've done this. I know a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses who don't post hardly at all because they just don't want to deal with that. And even on the outside of the world, people struggle with that too. But if they're not afraid to voice their opinion, that's a good sign. We're looking at my notes too, you can see them. People with low self-esteem, I've said this before in another dating video, is they're not long-term partners. I've dealt with low self-esteem people. I've been a low self-esteem person myself. It's not a long-term thing. You don't want to be involved with someone like that because they will fuck shit up. They will fuck your life up, and they're not self-aware that they're fucking it up because they're not even self-aware of themselves and how low self-esteem they have of themselves. It's harsh, but even if you're involved with someone who's a Jehovah's Witness that you're considering dating and they're not aware of how much they put themselves down or how low self-esteem of an environment they're in, like their parents controlling their lives, elders and the people they study with, telling them what they can and can't believe. That's not healthy. You should be able to think for yourself. And then, like I said, it's not healthy to think this way, but especially when we're talking beliefs. So when you discuss beliefs, I've noticed this with Jehovah's Witnesses and like super brainwashed Christians in general, is are they giving a chance to explain themselves and their beliefs, or do they give up after a while and just like, can we not talk about this? Can we just not talk about religion when we're together? Can we just talk about us or the things that we're interested in? That's not healthy, and that's a huge red flag. Oh, there's some maintenance getting done at this apartment, so he's coming in. I'm gonna stop. Well, as I was saying, if they're gonna sidestep the questions, say we shouldn't talk about this or not, folks, I did this. I've even been involved with people after the cult that were Christian because I was still believing, and then I started seeing the red flags. I was like, holy shit, this is not healthy in general to not talk about issues that we don't believe in. Even if it's a short-term thing, that's fine, just keep it at that. But if you're dating for longer than a month or so and you're really getting to know this person, if you can't talk about things like abortion or gay or pan and trans people, or being accepting of other people's viewpoints and beliefs, or being able to talk about the tough things without arguing, not a good sign, especially if the other person is running away. They're just not dealing with the issue. And then they're also being a hypocrite themselves. I've done this. It just shows that they're not open-minded, which leads into my next thing. Are they open-minded? I was raised to hate gay people. In the way that they would word it. Let's see, I even wrote it down how we word it. I have a clip from a video that I recorded when I was talking to an elder that was at a cart stand, and I asked him about, what does God think about gays? Because my little brother is gay. And he, within a few minutes, makes a God made Adam and Eve joke, not an Adam and Steve joke.
I mean, it doesn't say he created Adam, and Adam was going to marry Jim.
I've heard that before. Like, I've heard some.
Okay, well,
Westboro Baptist Church says the same thing.
Anyway,
They God created Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Is that what you mean? That's exactly what you mean. She's agreeing.
That's a little joke. That's a little joke.
That's harsh though, but it's mean.
It
is.
But what I'm saying is that when he made them man and woman, and they complement each other, and it's a natural process.
It's more and more. I try to understand. It sounds like God has a problem because he also made angels that apparently slept with humans, and they could reproduce.
And I called him out on it. I was like, "That's really mean. Like, that's really insensitive. How could you do that?" And he was like, he was laughing, just not self-aware at all of other people's opinions and how that would affect or make him look, or even how bad that makes the Jehovah's Witnesses look, because they, on their literature and their websites, it says, yeah, we're accepting of gays, we just don't, condone that type of lifestyle that's so contradictory, and just what it is ignorance and hate. So if they're not self-aware about that, then they're probably not self-aware about a lot of things, and it's going to cause problems, especially if you're open-minded. It's just not gonna vibe. The elder wasn't socially aware that it was not socially acceptable, because that's okay in their community, is this product of hate. Self-awareness takes time. That's like, I'm realizing that's the majority of life, is becoming self-aware, because once I was out of Jehovah's Witnesses and I could curse and say whatever I wanted to say, it felt great, but it's something I'm also working on is being self-aware and socially self-aware with my own humor. It's probably going to be a lifelong thing after decades of brainwashing. So background on me, if you're new to the channel, I was born and raised as a Jehovah's Witness, and I was raised, like, my earliest memory is being pushed in a stroller, knocking on doors with my mom in a small pioneer group. And I went to auxiliary pioneering to pioneering. I had goals of going to Bethel. I was very close to putting in. Had my application filled out for Bethel before I was disfellowshipped and left. So up in upstate New York, I was taking trips. I had a lot of friends that were pioneers and Bethelites, and I was being very judgmental, because that's the way I was taught, is you have to surround yourself with spiritual-minded people to give the most to Jehovah, because God loves us so much. And I was even being harsh to the people in my own congregation on how spiritual they were, and being judgmental. I was on LDC, back in the day it was known as RBC, Regional Building Committee, where you would go around and you would travel for free on your own dime. Gas, travel, the food was included at least, to build kingdom halls and convention centers and assemblies, because I wanted to give as much as I could, because I wanted to feel important, because I gave up the majority of my life of not pursuing my goals and my passions when I was younger. So now I'm in the real world, I'm catching up on all of that. But my background was that. I wasn't just some borderline JW that was kind of like, I was fully convinced. Eventually, in my early 20s, I met a girl who was sweet, attractive, the whole thing. We ended up liking each other, and I was a Jehovah's Witness, and I was trying to get her to learn about my faith and learn everything about stuff that made me happy and the things that I had values on, so we could better understand each other. That's the way I worded it. So in other words, brainwash her and make her believe the way I was thinking as a Jehovah's Witness, and I'm looking at my notes too. Eventually, like, just brainwash her to understand my thinking, so that way I could save her in Armageddon when the world ends. As crazy as that sounds, that's what I was doing. And if you're J-Dub mindset, you understand this. You want to save someone, because sometimes you'll meet, or I've seen worldly people come into the truth, and they're like, well, you can't date until they're baptized yet, or they've had 2 years of studying, so that way their mindset has changed. I've heard elders be like, we need a clean slate. We need them not to believe anything else but this. Not healthy. Anyway, after liking each other and kind of sort of dating for 6 months, I lost my virginity to her, and I felt so guilty about that. I didn't tell anyone, but I turned myself into the local elders in my congregation, and they formed a 3-elder meeting, which is a judicial meeting, and I had no idea what this was because, again, non-informed consent. They don't tell you your rights and that you have an appeal and that you could go further legally to protect yourself. They don't tell you your rights, that just coercion techniques, the same that cops use to get people to confess on things, even on crimes they didn't do. And the first time in my life I was afraid of losing everything. My mother, contact with her sister, our cousins, all of the about 2,000 to 3,000 Jehovah's Witnesses that I grew up with in my small town. I was insanely afraid. So when you're born and raised into the cult and you're coerced into thinking that punishment is okay for doing things that are normal, I thought it was okay. So what was I disfellowshipped for? They actually didn't disfellowship me for losing my virginity and having sex. They disfellowshipped me because I was going to continue a relationship with her, move in with her as I ran away from my hometown, and continue to obviously sleep with her. That was the disfellowshipping offense. So we were having sex, we were fucking, insert tab A into slot B. That's what we were doing. We spent the next few years as a couple together. I slowly brainwashed her, and I had zero experience in communication and became emotionally controlling, and I was bullying her around with my beliefs. It's just not healthy and not okay. I wasn't self-aware at the time, but I am now. And I thought in my mind that I was sticking up for Jehovah, God's word, doing the right things. She slowly started agreeing with me on certain things and becoming just as ignorant and as hateful as I was about things that I didn't fully understand. Right now, I'm currently an agnostic atheist. That could change. But when I read the Bible, what it actually says and allows me to see the things that God allowed by his hand, like, murdering babies, raping of women, allowing holy men to sleep around with hookers and not have anything bad happen to them, but yet current religions punish their current followers for masturbating, it doesn't make any sense. So I look at the Bible as a very hateful book now. If you don't, I encourage you to just read it. Look up a bunch of atheist agnostic channels just to get the other side of the fence. And I even have links in my videos where I pull apart the scriptures and look at them further. I'm going to test this out pretty soon by doing some more hidden cam footage, by talking to carts and see if they can answer in a logical way, because I already know they can't, but just as proof for everyone else. I'm going to have links in the description at the end of this video to you to dive deeper. Eventually, 3.5 years, I broke up with my girlfriend, my long-term girlfriend, and 6 months after that, of not having her around, I was scared to death about blood transfusions, and if I were to get into a car accident, I would compromise my beliefs already, and I was already in the shithole in my mind. What would I do? So I woke up to the brainwashing of Jehovah's Witnesses. You can see other vlogs where I talk about that, but that was one of the many things that started going off in my head, and I discovered Ray Franz through a friend who was always on the borderline, and he was also an agnostic atheist, which is really cool. So if you want to send me a question, you can send me a DM on Instagram at Kameron Fader. And it takes me a while to respond because I get a flood of messages, and like I said, people send the Book of Job, so it takes a while to go through them because they're very in-depth. As you can tell, I am recording on my cell phone because all of my camera gear was destroyed. It fell down and hit a rock from wind when I was taking pictures in Monterey. So if you can, I've got a link down in the description below. Again, if my vlogs have helped you in any way or any of my work does, please donate a few bucks. Link in the description, GoFundMe. And thank you to everyone who have already done that. Leave a comment for something that you would like for me to answer, and we'll take a look and see, or a DM. And subscribe so we can stay in contact and I can send you more messages. Until then, brothers and sisters, I will see you in the next video. And I hope you have a good day, and I hope you're out, you can get out, and you're not in any harmful cult anymore. I will see you in the next video.